Driven Life. He's the pastor of Saddleback. He joins us on our Newsmaker line. Pastor, how are you?
Happy Monday, Sean.
Did you have a busy weekend?
You know what? I was a little bored, so I invited a couple guys over for a discussion.
Well, first, let me applaud you. I thought it was a great forum. I thought we learned a lot about both candidates. First of all, what was your impression sitting there with them, and how did you feel about it?
You know, I don't think I heard any new answer that I didn't expect. I've known both of these guys for some time, but I think one of the advantages is that America not only saw the stark political differences, but also saw the stark personality differences between these guys. They are opposite in so many different directions, not just in their vision of America, but also in how they approach life and leadership style and personality. Did you feel, and I know you said that both of them are your friends and that you're not going to speak out publicly who you're voting for, did you feel one candidate did better than another? Well, you know, again, it's a matter of personality. Barack Obama, I call him the thoughtful consensus builder. You know, he's a constitutional attorney.
Attorney.
Yeah, that's right.
Eternal attorney.
Eternal.
Well, some people are looking at him as the second coming. I mean, I think there's a little Obama mania that has taken hold of the nation. But that's a different issue. Well, he likes to. Barack's mind. He thinks nuances and he talks nuances and all these things. McCain is the straightforward, happy commander, and it's yes, tell the teachers to get a new job who aren't good. Right. And then you could really see the difference, not just in the stark difference of the way they dealt with some of the moral issues, some of the political issues, and the direction of America, but also just in the way they responded, the way they answered questions. Well, let me ask this, because, and without putting you on the spot here in any way, you gave a sermon on Sunday to your congregation that was called The Type of Leader America Needs. This is on the heels of you interviewing both these candidates. And you said, quote, I'm not an expert on politics, but I know a lot about leadership and the guidelines for choosing a leader of our nation and our needs, and that God blessings are based on biblical qualities found in Proverbs. So, you know, based on that, you know, how do you apply that to the two candidates? Well, what I was trying to do on Sunday is give people a grid to look at not just issues, but also the person themselves, because in the long-range scheme of things, the character of the candidate is going to have far more profound effect than even some of the lesser issues. Typically, the town halls and the debates deal with the current flavor of the week issues. We've been hearing them over and over. It's the border, the war, the price of oil, and health care. Now, those are very important issues, but even more important issues were the things like what kind of which of the Supreme Court justices would you have not appointed? I thought that was a great question. It tells you a whole lot more about the direction. Now, I could have asked the question, what kind of jurors would you appoint? And they'd pontificate and give me a lot of generalizations and kind of, you know, weasel or wimp out of it if they could, because people don't like to do that. But by making it very specific and saying, which of the existing Supreme Court justices would you not have appointed, you learn instantly what their political persuasion was. Well, you said in your I guess, talk on Sunday, and I thought this was very profound, that God blesses leaders who, quote, live with integrity, serve with humility, and share with generosity. And you went on to say, today most leaders are interested in image, what people think they are, but true leadership involves integrity based on character and confidence, which is the number one need for leaders in America. Integrity doesn't mean perfection. No one is perfect, but it does mean being honest, which leads to credibility and to trust. Let me ask the question this way. I think I'm going to ask a Rick Warren style question. Do you know who you're voting for? Yeah. Do I know who I'm voting for? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes, I do. Of course I do. You do, but you're not going to speak about it publicly. No, but again, first place, I think Americans are smart. They're adults. I don't think anybody needs to tell me who to vote for. If I know what I believe, and I look at my worldview, and I look at my hierarchy of what values I hold, nobody has to tell me who to vote for. I know who to vote for based on my worldview. Yeah. What do you think about these allegations that were made after the program that there was cheating by the McCain campaign? Yeah,
I'm afraid that might even hurt the Obama campaign in a backlash. I talked to several interviews this morning, BeliefNet and a couple others, who said, quote, an anonymous source told me that John McCain was watching a monitor in his green room. Well, it's flat out a lie. It's impossible. Here are the facts. Number one, there were Secret Service staff and Saddleback staff with McCain the entire time. There's no way he could have listened to anything without being seen. And believe me, if he had been seen, I would have heard about it. There were cameras on him when he arrived. When I said that we were putting him in a cone of silence, I was obviously being silly. The crowd laughed at the obvious metaphor to get smart. But Senator McCain was put in a green room immediately in a different building without any contact. And people say, well, he was watching a monitor in his office. Well, that's impossible because Chuck Taylor, my Saddleback staff member, disconnected that TV from the source a full day before to create a silent green room. And if anybody had even tried to turn on that TV, all they would have gotten was static.
Yeah. Well, where do you think this came from then?
Well, I think it's somebody who didn't like the forum. And I think they were systematically calling the media to raise questions about McCain possibly hearing the part. Both of the guys agreed to the up front, saying, we will not get the questions in advance. I talked to both of them this last week about the type of questions I would ask. I would not give them any wording. For instance, I said there'll be a question on nuclear proliferation, which I never got to. There will be a question on the environment, which I never got to. There were a number of questions. I thought it was a great event. I had a couple frustrations. One of them was that I had to sacrifice many of the questions that I wanted to ask because they tended to talk long a lot of times, and I couldn't get to the ones I wanted to get to that I cared about, like on poverty